A very good morning to you, and Sam, thanks so much. Yes, you're dead right. We're at the Sandton Convention Centre, just north of Johannesburg, and this is for this latest in the series of New Age business briefings, kindly sponsored by Transnet, brought to you by the SABC. And today, as you said, we're taking a look at this all-important subject of education, and this is something that affects us all, because we all need it to make advances in our lives. And the class of 2014, well, congratulations to you. The big story, of course, is 75.8% pass rate, down slightly from last year, and we'll unpack why that is. But I think the overall story really is one of success and achievement, and also great news that a lot of the kids who perhaps had to overcome great odds at less resource schools performed phenomenally well. And in many cases, I think when the technical analysis came through, got a lot of, they got more passes, particularly bachelor passes for university, than some of the more resource schools. So the kids of 2014, an incredible bunch of kids, well done, congratulations. You're all men and women now, and your future is ahead of you. So we'll be unpacking that with Minister and Deputy Minister, and also my co-host, Ayanda Ali Payne. But let's say a very good morning now to the Minister of Basic Education, Angie. Motshekga, thank you very much for joining us. We always join you at the beginning of the year because it's the biggest story of January each year. But welcome, thank you for joining us. Deputy Minister Enver Surty, thank you very much indeed for being with us. And I know that Acting DG, Mr. Pariachi is here as well, so he can help with this conversation during the course. But you at home, we want you very much to be part of this as well. At Morning Live SABC is our Twitter handle, hashtag TNA BizBrief. We're going to start this conversation. But also here in audience is Ayanda Ali Payne, a bubbly voice and face that you see at Morning Live every day. Let's say hi to her, because she's going to be on the floor and she'll tell us why.
That's quite right. Thank you so much, Peter. Good morning. I'm surrounded by a number of key and critical stakeholders today. We have academics, we have the educators, a number of learners are with us this morning. I see members of civil society group, Yusuf Abramji from Lead SA to my left, and just up ahead, an ever-smiling Mr. Pangenza Lesufi. He's got a lot to celebrate this morning. He joins us also representing a number of provincial government officials. We also have members of student financial aid schemes. I know they're in table number 16, so that's that way. And they will also be speaking to us about whether or not they can accommodate the influx of grade 12s who will be seeking some financial assistance. So that's the topic of conversation that we'll be having today, Peter, as we unpack, as you rightly put, the 2014 matric results. Speaking to a number of analysts yesterday, they mentioned that, when you take a look at the 2014 results and try to compare them to that of previous years, it's like comparing apples with oranges, really, because the class of 2014 were groundbreaking in so many ways. I'm just talking about the likes of CAPS and a number of introductions that were brought into the system, so that these results should actually be seen as a benchmark for future results, and that these are the results that are a starting point to greatness. So much to celebrate. As you mentioned, a slight drop, but many are saying an increase in quality. So we'll unpack that a little bit more with the stakeholders on floor, but it's back to you now.
Ayanda, we certainly look forward to that. Okay, so the headline story, as we said, 688,600 students registered. The pass rate 75.8, down 2.4% from 2013, but essentially a good result nevertheless. Minister, your overall impressions, you've had time to kind of mull over the results and what they're saying to us. What are your overall impressions and first thoughts on these results?
No, my first reaction was really being depressed to lose 2.4, because it's not just a percentage, it's human beings that would have failed. But knowing that we consciously and deliberately took a decision to raise the bar, to increase the cognitive demands of the curriculum, cognitive demands of the questions, have more high order questions in our question papers, it was expected. But more in particular that most provinces, more than 6,000 learners who would have been made to repeat grade 11 twice, and normally they get discouraged and drop out. We got provinces to promote them and give them added support. And with those in mind, I just felt that indeed we've done relatively well. We could have done better, but I'm quite comfortable that with all the changes that we had brought into the system, we had to expect some drop. And we've committed ourselves with provinces that through giving even added support to those that qualify for supplementary exams, we should be able to make up for the drop.
Okay, Deputy Minister, when we look at these results, what are they telling us?
Well, what they're saying to us is that there are huge systemic changes that are taking place. And the Minister alluded to one important element. There has been not one district that has performed under 50% in the country. So there is an overall effort to ensure that interventions take place at the lowest level. And district directors have played an incredibly important role in this there. You see it across the provinces, you see it within the provinces. And I think that ushers well for the future. It suggests that systemically across the system, we have the stability and certainly are tapping on the potential to improve year from year.
Minister, we're going to start unpacking, all the details and so on and so forth, but I just want to get a broad sense. What does it mean even to get a national senior certificate? What happens? My daughter passed this year. I'm so excited. What does it mean then that she's got this piece of paper in her hand?
It means a lot. It really means a lot. It means these kids have survived 12 years of schooling. It's not a feat. It's more than half their lives. It's an opening of a new era for them. It's either they go to the world of work. As you correctly said, there are women and men now. It really is. They have learned to study on their own, to stand on their own. It's huge. It's a big issue, and that's why we celebrate it. But also for us as a sector to have been with them for 12 years, some of them have dropped off, couldn't survive the 12 years, and for them to have survived 12 years and leave with a certificate, for me, it's just huge, it's big. It's really the beginning of something great for them, especially those that did well and committed themselves to work. And that's why we're saying, even those that have failed, the 12 years that they've invested should not go to waste and not get them to repeat or to rewrite. They should not waste that 12 years, but it's something big. It's big for us to see our kids leaving the system after 12 years with them.
All right, okay. I think people have kind of had been reading the sort of headlines before that we expected a slight drop. Tell us a little bit about what this curriculum assessment policy statements is, CAPS. What is it so different about it? Is it a game changer? Why have we embarked on this journey? And the class of 2014 were the first on this.
I'm confident it's a game changer. You know, when we were appointed in 2009, I always tell people the first thing I wished for was to get into a national ministry and deal with the curriculum. Because for years, on most educationists, we just had lots of discomfort with the previous curriculum. So when I was appointed, I said to myself, God, this is it. Because as a provincial MEC, I couldn't change the curriculum. And I was convinced with most other education that we have to do something with the curriculum. And to have had that opportunity to be part of the change of the curriculum, which really was just the last nail to the OBE. It's much more clear about what needs to be taught, how it's supposed to be taught, the assessment, the cognitive rigor that is needed in our schools, and many other things that just are necessary for stability. And what really consoles or gives me great hope and confidence that even our prominent educationists in the country, we just had a review on your past requirements, and they all recommended that we should keep the curriculum for 10 years, which confirms that indeed it is a good curriculum. Umalusi confirmed it is a good curriculum. It has been benchmarked internationally. It is a good curriculum. It's never perfect. It can still be improved, but all of us in the sector are satisfied that at least we have something that is good, that we can continue to improve on, but it's solid and we are on safe ground with that curriculum. So I'm very excited that the class of 24, we've rolled it out finally. And I was saying to the group that having been part of those changes of 2014, because I knew this was going to happen because the rigor was high. I was hoping that I won't be a minister in 2014 because I knew something was going to happen because the demands were much more higher on teachers, on learners, and we had lots of problems also in the rollout of the curriculum. In 2014, we delayed sending books in Limpopo. It was a big endeavor just to get changes and to retrain our teachers, to resource the new curriculum and implement changes as we continued. And this group is the first group that really had to write out that curriculum. And I'm very confident that we are on a very good trajectory moving forward as a country.
All right, and one of the things that you've been saying quite a bit is that raising the bar. Deputy Minister, what does that mean? When we say we've raised the bar, what have we done?
Well, it really means that the paradigm has changed in this respect, that learners have to be encouraged to be more critical, more reflective, and more innovative in terms of responding to questions in papers. The scope of their knowledge has to be expanded and become much more relevant to the demands of our current society, which means that you have to review the curriculum content so that it is responsive to both the social and economic demands. And that is one. But I think an important point that is often missed is the fact that not very long ago we had provincial examinations. There was no uniformity in the system of education. So every province would set its own papers. We now have national papers. So we have a national standard in terms whereof we measure the ability of our learners across the system. There's also the uniformity in terms of its content. And what the minister was saying, quite correctly and importantly, is that we know precisely what has to be done, when it has to be done, and how it has to be assessed. So there is no disagreement or confusion about that. You know, the previous attempts were good attempts, but there was a great deal of fragmentation. There wasn't this consolidation and uniformity. And the national curriculum, what it does, it aligns the curriculum in a way that responds positively to the demands of a 21st century learner.
All right, okay. And again, we're going to unpack a lot of this. We've got a bit of time. We're going to get into the details. So now, the provinces had mixed fortunes. 5 went down, 4 went up. And one province that's gone up is the Eastern Cape, but again, sadly, is at the bottom end of this story. Abongile is in Eastern Cape right now, and we're going to cross to Abongile just to get a sense of the story in the Eastern Cape, and then we'll start unpacking it a little bit more here in Johannesburg with Minister and Deputy. Abongile?
A very good morning and welcome to Port Elizabeth in the Eastern Cape, and we are now live at KwaZulu-Natal, one of the schools in the Eastern Cape that actually has done well, 58% last year and 72% this year. But just a brief history about the Eastern Cape and its pass rate. In 2012, the pass rate was 61.9. Last year we saw an increase to 64.2, and this year another increase to 65.4. So despite the national drop of 2.4, the Eastern Cape has actually increased its pass rate. Now this can be attributed to many things that the government has done to try and improve the pass rate in this province. They have things like extramural tutors who have come, university students who come into the schools and focus on maths, science and accounting. They've had permanent temporary teachers being made permanent, and then also they've also tried to inculcate a nature and a culture of studying with school holidays, making those school holidays compulsory and making kids being forced to come to school during school holidays to study. But we can also not ignore that there is a dark cloud in the Eastern Cape right now, with 19 centres being under investigation for a scam which is linked to cheating. We also spoke to the chairperson of COSAS, who said that primarily the people to blame in this whole scandal is the Department of Education. She was just saying that she really does believe that the carelessness of the department not to make sure that invigilators themselves are qualified to oversee that these exams are going about in a fair and equal manner and a fair manner as well. But there is a success story in the Eastern Cape, and that's what we want to focus on this morning. We have 2 students. One of them actually got 5 distinctions in an area which is called Ezwide, which is not really one of the most prime areas in the Eastern Cape, but an area that people normally look down on. But this young man has defied all odds and achieved 5 distinctions. His name is Samkel, and he's here this morning. Just tell us, how was he able to achieve this? What contributions were done by his teachers to achieve these results? Samkel, good morning. How are you?
Fine, thanks. And you?
Thank you. Can you just tell us briefly, how many distinctions did you get this morning? How are you feeling? And what are your plans going ahead now with these distinctions?
I got 5 distinctions in English, Maths, Life Sciences, Life Orientation, and Business Studies. I'm planning on studying pharmacy at Broad University because I actually have a passion for health sciences and I would like to be in a field where I will be helping people. I worked extra hard this year and I proved I wanted to succeed and beat against all odds, and I have done it.
Thank you so much. Another young lady who is passionate about journalism is Uzanand, and she's done well, got a B aggregate, and she wants to go to NNMU. And she also says that the one thing that really has helped her are the teachers at the school who are really passionate about making sure that they really achieve good results. Zanandi, how are you this morning?
I'm fine, thanks, and yourself?
Thank you. Can you just tell us, man, just about your teachers, the extraordinary teachers you guys have here? How do your teachers help you to achieve the results you guys have achieved today?
They helped us a lot by giving us extra classes on Saturdays and in holidays, and also morning classes.
Okay, and then what are your plans next, and what do you want to study and why?
This year I want to study economics, even though I'm passionate about journalism. But I want to study economics because I want to help South Africa become a developed country and not a developing country.
So those are the success stories from the Eastern Cape. As you heard, I think walking around this morning and finding out from the students, I think it goes without saying that many of the problems facing the Eastern Cape schools are a lack of proper infrastructures, a lack of proper resources, overcrowding in classes, and I guess sometimes to a large extent a lack of teacher and child participation at the schools. And if Eastern Cape is to try and raise the bar when it gets to the education system, it really needs to get a new breed of teachers who are passionate and really hard work in making sure that these students achieve the results. And if that can be achieved, the pass in the Eastern Cape can perhaps go up in 2015. Back to you in studio.
Indeed, for giving us an insight into what's been happening in the Eastern Cape. And as I said, only 4 provinces showed improvements in a particularly difficult year. And it's good to see that Eastern Cape, that's been one of the most challenged provinces, making some strides there. But we'll unpack what that means and what some of the challenges have been, particularly KwaZulu-Natal. If you see that they're down 7.7% this year, what could this mean? Is it just caps? Are there other things that we need to be looking at? And also, how do we get a uniformity across the country so that we don't have the idea that if you're going to get through matric, you've got to go to a particular province and go away from another? All of that coming up right after this. Stay with us.